Welcome to the Goffstown Select Board June 13th meeting. Our first order of business, as always, is the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First up is the acceptance and/or corrections of minutes from 5/23/22 and 6/6/22, public and non-public.
Would you like two motions?
Pardon?
Do you want two motions?
Yes, two motions.
I'll make a motion, we approve the public and non-public meeting minutes from 5/23/2022.
Second.
Motion by Kelly, seconded by Jim. Any discussion, corrections? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, motion passes.
I'll make the motion on the 6/6/22 public and non-public minutes with corrections if need be.
Second.
Motion by Mark, seconded by Kelly. Any discussion, corrections? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, motion passes. Derek, I don't see any announcements.
The only announcement, Parks and Rec did announce this afternoon that the pools are scheduled to open on Monday, June 20th. So they are working towards that.
So we'll put that in as, thank you.
Rick didn't have any surprises, huh?
Yeah.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Hey, why don't we've got a few minutes, Derek, why don't you start with, you want to go into the select board discussion on policies?
Yes, that'd probably be appropriate at tab
Okay.
4 in your packet.
First up is a policy on Parks and Recreation electronic message center use. Have you all had a chance to read through it?
Yep.
Questions, comments?
This one. Where is it? This one mentions the.
Where are you at?
I'm sorry, I'm on the first page of the policy, the electronic message center use policy. This one mentions, where is it? Nonprofit service organizations such as Lions, Rotary Club, Garden Club, et cetera. Can we create a form for the kind of information that we would need from all these groups?
I can work with Parks and Recs on what kind of information they would. I think what we tried to do on page, I guess on the bottom where the message where it has examples, it has some of the different information that we're seeking. Parks and Rec is still kind of learning the electronic message center for how many characters are allowed, but once they have that figured out, yes, we can work with them for to develop a form.
And I think, did this one, shoot, I can't remember. Did this one have a time frame for how long the message runs?
Yes, it was. Yeah, it was-
Okay.
I think.
Yeah, I thought I saw
Yeah.
it, but I don't see
Yeah,
it.
That's
it's
2 weeks,
about
it's on the
halfway.
second page down.
Oh, okay, thank you.
It says message request should be submitted, at least 2 weeks in advance, and then minimum message will be displayed for 2 weeks.
Oh, maximum time, 4 weeks, okay.
I guess I
Go ahead,
I
call
had
us.
a question, Peter. It says the, where are we?
Where
It's
you
at
at?
it's on the second, page 2 of 3.
Okay,
Yeah, I lost it again. At the sole discretion of the Parks and Recreation Director. And then 2 bullets down, it says the town reserves the right, so it seems to bounce between the Parks and Rec Director and the town, which I assume would be us as a board.
We can change it to be Parks and Rec Director throughout if that's the preference of the idea of the policy would be, this would be the general rules to follow on a day-to-day basis without bringing it to the board's attention, and you do have the provision where you could waive something, so if the Director of Parks and Rec said that does not meet our policy, somebody could still come forward to you to make a request for you to waive policy. So it'd be appropriate to remove the, that last where it says the town reserves the right, it would be the Parks and Rec
Parks and Rec.
Director.
Okay, so that would be like an appeals process.
Yes.
So Parks and Rec would say, yep, it's good, no, gotta change it. If they disagree with it,
Yes.
they'd come to us.
If they wanted to,
If they-
yes.
Well, yeah.
Yep,
Yep.
and what happens if the select board disagrees with it?
then it would not run on the electronic message center.
There's that waiver section down below.
Yeah.
Right.
So maybe do we just add something which includes, well, I guess we don't need to put that in there. That the board could remove it. Potentially.
Anything else?
So the Parks and Rec director would, because I gotta tell you, driving by that, when that big red one's up there, that's not at all what I expected to be seeing. Certainly not in Goffstown. It just doesn't seem like it's keeping with the character of the town, you know? When you go by the police department one, it's all one color, it's nice amber lettering, it's not intrusive, it's easy enough to read. And then you go by this one, it's red, it's changing, it's got different, it just seems inconsistent. It seems a little bit loud, a lot louder than I had expected it was gonna be.
He
By
may be-
loud, I mean in your face loud,
He may be playing with it, and we can always put that bug in his ear to,
to tone it down a little bit.
I don't see why not, you could ask them,
Let me read.
we could bring it forward to the Parks and Rec Commission and say,
Yeah, I mean, the first time I thought, I didn't, immediate came to mind was the Las Vegas Strip. I was like, man, oh man, look at this thing. It's loud. Follow us on Facebook in big red.
anything else?
Yeah,
We're good, Jim?
second page, the same thing with Carlos was looking at, the last, second to last bullet point. No message will be displayed that includes comments that may be deemed inappropriate. Inappropriate to who?
Yeah. That'll be,
To Rick?
Maybe the director of Parks and Rec.
Yeah, I would think. He's the manager of the board.
Yep.
I suspect we're gonna go through some growing pains with this thing.
Sure.
Yeah, that's why I suggested
like-
maybe a form of message, the characters, the length, at least we have record too of what's being requested.
I kind of like some language that instead of, I don't like the word inappropriate, that's too,
Yeah.
you know, like in accordance with this policy or something like that, I guess. I mean, that may be a little bit, but that's what, potential for trouble.
You wanna clean that one up?
I can clean it up and bring a revision to you at your next meeting, and
Sure.
we just keep this in draft form for this time being.
So how would it work? So they're gonna submit something to Parks and Rec.
Yes,
Parks and Rec is gonna say we're okay with it, but then the next bullet said the town reserves the right. In other words, the board, this board reserves the right. So are we gonna be notified each time? I'm just trying to figure out the process.
so it was not my intention to bring it to this board every time somebody
Right.
had a message to put up on the sign. So that last bullet of the town reserves the right should be modified to say the Parks and Rec director reserves the right
Okay.
to edit all messages. Because the worst thing that would happen is somebody would submit a message for posting,
Yeah.
and it has one too many characters.
Yeah.
You know, you gotta give Aaron and Rick a little bit of leeway to edit it, but if they deem it, I guess, inappropriate, or if it's a personal message of that sort, they would say, no, we're gonna take that off.
And then they have the authority, the person that's got a complaint can always come to the board.
Right.
That's the way I understood it's supposed to work, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
that change makes sense, and it's consistent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I can make those changes and also look up for some examples of inappropriate language.
Well, yeah, and, because right now it says Rick would have the call on inappropriateness, and all we would have a call on is to ensure clarity and length,
Yep.
not inappropriateness. So if one, I guess we should, well, I guess what I'm saying is we should have the right to edit whatever you use instead of appropriate, you know, just,
I understand.
You okay?
Well, edit, we don't wanna come out doing all the editing. If somebody's got an issue, I would think.
yeah, I'm not saying, yeah.
Isn't that what you're thinking, Claude? If
Yeah,
somebody's
I'm
got an
thinking
issue,
we-
they can come to us?
We want to serve as an appellate board, if you will.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, then I wonder if we can just remove that line altogether, because we've kind of spelled out the things that are not allowed. And we said, you know, the Parks and Rec director has discretion over what's acceptable or not, and then we could add, and take out that line and put something about the select board can handle appeals.
I don't, if you read that whole sentence, it's at the very end, he's gotta be able to edit it for clarity, or, you know, to ensure this, the
Right.
clarity and the length. I think that's what that addresses.
Yeah, I'm talking about the one that says no message will be displayed that includes comment that may be deemed inappropriate.
Okay, the one above.
Although it is specific, it says to ensure clarity and length. It doesn't say anything about content or appropriateness, or, so you've got to somehow wrap that in, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
If somebody comes in with a huge message, he's gotta have the ability to edit it.
Yep.
You know, like the village board, so. All right, so we're gonna work on that a little bit more.
Yeah, I'll bring that to you next meeting.
It is now 6:10. At 6:10, we have public comment. Is there anybody here for public comment? Come right up. State your name and address, please.
Have a seat.
Have a seat.
My name is Lisa Harbis. My address is 751 Back Mountain Road. And I'm here to speak in support of requesting that the city of Goffstown, during the month of June, would display some pride flags to show that this city is welcoming to all of its, to the entire community. I moved here not too long ago, about a year ago. I'm been married to my spouse since 2008 because I came from another state where that was legal at that time. We have a family that is very similar to everybody else's family here. We participate in community events. We come to the village quite often, and it was brought to my attention that the police department had changed sort of their little symbol for, I think it was some incredibly brief period of time, but it was there, that had pride, you know, LGBTQ trans flag kind of in the background of the police department symbol. And that was incredibly encouraging and very uplifting and made me feel a little bit safer here. I have to say that, you know, I moved here from California, so I came from a place where my family and my personal identity and how I was as a member of the community felt very safe, and I could be very visible. Here, it's a little different, and I feel a little bit less sure about how I will be received here as a lesbian. So I think it would really go a long way for the city to consider the possibility of having some flags in the downtown and the village area here during June to recognize Pride Month. So that's why I
All
came.
right, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Not seeing anybody, we will close the public comment portion of the meeting, and we'll take up the flags next. We have come up with a policy. It was posted, I don't know if anybody looked online and read it. It should be...
That's in that same
Yeah.
section.
Yes, it's in the
Next
same
page.
section 4. yeah.
Yep.
Discussion? Input?
There's
Go ahead.
some things. So we had talked last week about the different kinds of flags that we've been asked to hold in town before, which has typically been the American Legion has done stuff for Veterans Day, Memorial Day, things like that, and a couple other things here and there. So we did include the school, but we didn't include anything for the town. I'm thinking specifically about the Historical Society just got those Goffstown flags. This policy would negate us from putting those up. Let's say like Main Street wanted to put up like, I don't know, Pumpkin Regatta or something like that. Also like prisoner of war flags, which they've done in the past. I also wonder if this has, if we should like talk about wreaths, because they've done that before on the lampposts. There was some discussion about, you know, how we would have, if we would entertain community groups, nonprofits, if they have to have like, you know, a tax ID number or something like that, or what the criteria would be. But with these three that we have now, it only gives the school, the state flag, and the US flag. It's kind of removed everything.
I agree. I mean, I read this, and then I saw the request for the pride flag, and I said it doesn't fit in the, right? I mean, unless you're right, it doesn't fit in this policy.
Exactly.
So I'm wondering what do you want to do about that? I mean, I'm for it, but I don't think we should start a policy and then waive it the first, at the same time. I guess I don't know how we go around that.
Calls?
Yeah, I think the process or the timing is a little awkward because we got a request before we even had time to review the draft policy. I mean, it's only a draft. I mean, typically, we would have been able to review the draft, have some time to think about it, bring it forward at the next meeting in case we needed to make changes, and then adopt the policy. So it's a little bit unusual and awkward. I mean, it's still in draft, we've already got a request.
I think the reason why this came forward was because of that request. We don't have a policy on it, so we decided, or it was decided, we talked about last week, that we needed to come up with a policy.
Yeah, I
And I think
understand.
before we open Pandora's box and you put the policy in effect, I do agree that there should be a section in here where it says maybe town events like Old Home Day, pumpkin regatta, flags like that. I don't know if we want to open it up to private groups, that's up to our decision now. But according to this policy, as it stands now, it wouldn't be allowed.
Yeah.
Here.
Mark?
So these 3 bullets that we have here in our post, has legal looked at that? Did this suggestion come from them, or is this just something that was developed?
So I did reach out to legal after the last meeting because the board directed me to develop a draft policy. He provided a sample out of the city of San Jose that he liked the form, so we modified it and indicated there. There was a 4th bullet that was, I think, distributed to the board members last week by email, but it was removed prior to printing, that included any ceremonial flags, any flags that dealt with proclamations issued by the board, anything related to that. The attorney saw that and he said that it was narrow enough that he was comfortable. Because again, by putting or allowing flags to be placed on town property, it is a form of governmental speech. And Boston recently had an issue, and I provided everyone with a link to that case, when they allow certain governmental speech, or certain free speech, but not other free speech.
Yeah, I think that, if I read that properly, it was because they denied somebody, they had already allowed it, which we haven't done yet. So they had allowed other people to do it, and when this other organization came in, they didn't allow it, and that's what brought the case.
Yes.
So it kind of doesn't fit with what we're doing now, because we haven't opened that door yet.
Correct.
Calls?
Peter, on number 2, it says flags of governments recognized by the United States. What does that mean? I mean, there's lots of governments, and I think we recognize them all. We recognize some as good governments, some as bad governments. I mean, what does that mean?
So there are some communities that, for example, flew Ukrainian flags
Yep.
over the last few months, but you might have a political organization that operates in another country that's not recognized by the United States. So I think whether it's an ISIS flag, I mean, you know, hypothetically, it's hard to come up with one. Again, this was boilerplate language that we kind of stole a little bit from the city of San Jose. The other example I saw in some were if you had a sister city,
Yeah.
or a sister country, something like that.
Such as we do.
Yes.
Yep.
Jim?
I don't know. I like these categories, but I'm just wondering with these, how far we can go with like this request for the pride flag. You know, it's a slippery slope, as you always say, you know?
You open up the door. Can't let one do it without the other. That's the issue. Not the issue whether we agree with the pride flag or not. It's the issue is once you open that door, what are you doing?
Well, one of
And
my-
this closes the door, so we don't have that issue. Go ahead, Kelly, I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, one of my suggestions last week was to follow in accordance with federally recognized holidays and/or days or months of remembrance, which would include a bunch of different things.
Exactly.
Military Appreciation Month, Black History Month, things like that.
Now,
Pride Month.
Mark?
I kind of agree with what everybody said. If we were to put a number 4 there and open Pandora's box, I don't know where it would take us, and I don't know where we would end up. I mean, every little group in town could end up asking for something, every little group in town would want a flag. I don't know, I'm still in the debate stages. I do like what was presented to us. I feel very comfortable with it. Legal has run by it, legal has kind of given it a stamp of approval, and if we add that other part of that, I mean, I don't know where it'll take us.
Yeah, I'm just wondering what would happen if we've got two entities who seem to fall within the policy, who want to fly a flag at the same time. What do we do then?
Split the flag.
If-
I don't know.
One gets one side of the street, the other the other.
Well, I could see it happening
Yeah,
easily.
no, I agree.
I mean, because as you
I
get
think-
more
I
and
think
more and more
it's when it has to
groups.
be a policy.
Yeah.
It has to be a policy. I
Well,
think
just-
that's what we need to do.
I mean, just to
But
go
this-
back to Mark's point about opening Pandora's box, that's the purpose of the policy, right? Though, so that we don't
Right.
open Pandora's box. No
We need-
political flags,
We
no
need and should have some
things.
strict and stringent guidelines before we do open the Pandora's box.
Right. And like I said, I want to address like the prisoner of war flags, the Goffstown town flags that were just brought up from the Historical Society and things like that, that we're just completely excluding.
I mean,
Well,
I mean, I just wonder, is the purpose of this and what are people's, like, I feel like this was almost made to prevent the pride flag conversation from happening. And it's the first non-town thing we've ever really had come up, with the exception of Veterans Day.
well, that's what brought it up though, Kelly, was the pride thing. That's what prompted this, because we
Agreed.
came, we said, well, we don't have a policy. We need to come up with a policy.
Yeah.
So this is the policy. And I think it's proper thing to do before we open the box, to put a policy in. And I think that's what we're trying to do tonight.
I think it's just not giving any room for any kind of discussion moving forward. The guidelines are just nothing, aside from the American flag and the school flag and the state of New Hampshire flag, right?
But that's the point. We have to be careful because the town represents the government, and we can't be sponsoring private, anything that comes along legally. And I don't know what the boundaries are, but I think they're pretty close to probably what we have in the policy.
So you're semi-good with this?
If you know, I kind of like the idea of what you're saying, but I think I wouldn't vote for that today. I need to see some kind of
You've written.
corral around it or something, you know? I
Well,
don't,
that's why I mentioned we have to figure out how to address
I
the
don't
town
know.
stuff, unless the consensus is we're just gonna say no to Legion, to Main Street, to,
well, that's the safest.
Historical
most
Society.
of the time when the legions have had their flags, if memory serves me right, they're carrying that flag. They're not, I don't recall seeing them on the post.
I think for one of the parades that we did both.
Maybe, but,
maybe it
I
was just
mean,
American.
For the major portion of it, a lot of those flags have been prisoner of war flags, veterans flags, all those flags have all been carried and displayed by that specific group of people, which I think would not fall under any of this, as far as I'm concerned, but, I mean, that's just my,
So I think it's a step in the right direction. I think we're heading in the right direction. I think we need a policy. It's just how we're gonna word it. Of course, you know, the devil's always in the details. You know, and as I looked at this again at the bottom of page 1, it says, organizations or individuals may request to fly particular flags on town-owned properties. Well, now there's another term. What is that? What's a particular? What does that mean? I mean, it's like, because people are gonna push the boundaries on this as hard as they
Most
can.
certainly.
I mean, it's just the nature of things, but, then again, we've got to reason about where we put the sideboards on this thing so that it does what we want to do, nothing more, nothing less, I guess. That's our challenge, I guess, to find where that sweet spot is.
So what if we put in there, Kelly's problem is we haven't included some things like Old Home Days. So if we put a amendment onto this or add this, that town events, i.e. Old Home Days, Pumpkin Regatta, I don't know the other town events that we,
Can we say that because the town's not actually putting them on?
Good point.
Well,
If it's got town-sponsored groups,
Yeah,
Crispin
right.
House, Main Street program.
We don't sponsor the Main Street program.
I think if you might be looking at the electronic message center.
Did I skip one here? Okay.
Should be behind it. So again, there was a fourth one that the town attorney did review and was okay with, and that was flags displayed in conjunction with official ceremonial items. Other flags may be displayed in conjunction with official actions, ceremonial items, or proclamations of the Goffstown Select Board.
I like that.
Could you do that one more time?
Flags displayed in conjunction with official ceremonial items. Other flags may be displayed in conjunction with official actions, ceremonial items, or proclamations of the Goffstown Select Board.
So would that mean, for like Old Home Day, for example, we would have to have a proclamation that it's Old Home Day in order for them to...
Or an official action, as
That's
part
fine.
of a special event permit.
right,
Somebody
Yeah.
could request to place flags, and we could have that as a separate vote.
under the application for a special event.
Yes.
little flags on the, right on the event, little flags.
Yep. Yep.
Right on the permit.
That seemed to cover that.
I know we don't meet for another 2 weeks, but can he rewrite that over and add that number
Oh,
4?
we can do it right now.
Okay, it's
You don't
fine by
have to be
me.
rewritten, it just has
Fine
to
by
be.
me.
We just have to make an amendment to the policy, say it now and put it into the policy and then vote on it.
Another thing I wanted to bring up about this policy, it doesn't address the length of time,
It does not.
which I think it should, because
2 weeks?
I think a week.
Not if you've got the American flags up there.
Dude, we're gonna leave them up all the time. I guess I mean as
So
in,
If the Lions Club or somebody's wants to leave those flags up and maintain them, fine. We left the, Old Home Day flags up. They were up for almost a month.
I guess I just mean if someone, we did do something and then we took them down, like after a week, or like we asked them to take them down. So we would just leave them up until people decided to remove them?
The whole problem is, let's say that the American flags are up there as we normally do, we have them up there, right? So, group comes in and wants to put flags up. They take those flags down, what do they do with them? Who puts them back up? Who's responsible for all of that?
Right now, the groups have been
it's,
putting them up and
yeah.
taking them down. Lions Club puts them up and takes them
Right.
down. And then there's volunteers that put up the high school ones as well.
Now, will they put the American flags back up, or are they just returning the flags to Lions Club, or do we know?
I know over the past few years, Lions Club has done it for Memorial Day, around Labor Day, and then for Veterans Day as well.
Okay.
So should we maybe add something like in coordination with the town administrator, so you could help connect the groups perhaps if they do overlap?
We can add
Is that
too.
okay?
Yeah, we could do that.
I just don't want someone taking something down and leaving it in a pile somewhere, you know?
That's the problem, right? That's what I'm saying. Somebody takes them down and, where's my flags? We have an appointment at 6:30.
Do you want to wait with this, or do you want a motion
Well, this
to
is-
add 4 back in?
Yeah, I'd take that motion.
I'll make a motion that we,
My biggest concern at this point still is what happens when we've got competing interests who want to display a flag at the same time? Who's gonna make the decision, or who's gonna be allowed to fly the flag? And
Well, I don't think that's gonna be a problem, will it?
No,
why?
I don't,
Why?
one's gonna have one side of the street, one's
No,
gonna.
no, no, I don't think that's it. I don't think it's gonna be a problem, because in this particular it's gotta come before us.
also to your point, Collis, it does state in the policy that the request needs to be made at least 4 weeks prior to
Yep.
the request date.
Mhm.
So in the event that we had someone who requested and then another group comes along, they could coordinate, you know.
You know, I'm willing to try it. I think we gotta step off the curb and try something. I can just envision people pushing the limits, because
Yeah.
people are gonna say, wait a minute, I want to display my flag, but you already gave, but anyways,
That's what
let's
I'm
move
saying.
forward.
Yeah.
You know, there'll be some growing pains, and we'll get through it, just like we do with other stuff.
If that was a motion, Kelly, I'll second your motion.
Yes, add number 4 back
Add
in.
number 4 back in.
And I don't believe we had any other edits, right? We said no to
Just
the
add,
time,
you wanted to add 2 weeks.
or add to coordinate with the town administrator.
Oh, that was the number 4, was the,
Yeah.
okay. And
No, that was for ceremonial proclamation or any other,
And that's the number 4.
correct.
So
on
that
the
now the
original
one
policy.
below it, number 1 through 4 above reads correctly.
Yes,
Right,
Yes.
thank you.
so I make motion, Mark seconded.
Any more discussion on the motion to add number 4 back in? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, motion passes. Now, do you want to go to the ordinance or the policy?
Appointment?
Well, you want to do the policy first, or right in the middle of it? We just,
Oh, you want to vote to approve it?
yeah,
You want a motion?
Yeah.
I'll make a motion that we approve the exhibition of flag on town-owned lamppost policy as amended by the previous motion.
Second.
motion by Kelly, seconded by Mark. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, motion passes. Now we have an appointment with Pam. Pam Boyer, resident, request flags on flag posts.
Hi, Pam Boyer, 20 Long Pond Road. I don't know if I can say that out loud, but I just- All right, Chairman Georgantis, members of the board, thank you for taking my appointment this evening. I'm here on behalf of the Goffstown LGBTQ community group. I've got several members behind me who have joined us. These are members of Goffstown. It includes residents, town employees, local business owners, members of local religious groups, and allies within the community. I'm here to formally request that the select board consider approval to hang 10 standard rainbow flags on the town lampposts in the village for 1 week. These flags would be provided by the group at no cost to the taxpayers. Given the policy that I just heard about, I'm actually not sure how that fits in, whether I have to ask for a proclamation or whether I have to ask for, or how I'm going to go about getting that approval from you. But I do want you to consider the original date that I did request this, which was over 4 weeks ago, when making your decision. So there are 9 designated federally recognized months to celebrate diversity and inclusion in the United States. Some of these designations include Black History Month, Military Appreciation Month, and June is federally recognized as LGBTQ Pride Month. And that's right from the federal government with the proclamation. And the rainbow flag is symbolic to the LGBTQ pride. Its colors are chosen to represent life, healing, sunlight, nature, harmony, and spirit. The rainbow flag is usually viewed as welcoming, and it displays a sense of community with feelings of love and hope. Goffstown is a town that is open to all. All people who cherish a small town feel of our streets, the warm and friendly neighborhoods, and the honest hearts of the countless amounts of residents who give back in one way or another to each other. Goffstown is a place where I feel all are welcome. I'd like to request that Goffstown recognize June as Pride Month by hanging these flags to encourage all citizens to recognize and celebrate the diversity of our town, to help LGBTQ residents, especially our youth, to let them know that they are accepted and safe in Goffstown. Because we are a community that cares about each other. We want LGBTQ people to come here, to buy homes, to establish their community here, send their kids to our schools, open businesses, patronize the businesses, in an area where they know they'll be accepted, they'll be safe, and they can be a loved member of the community. We want the youth of Goffstown to know that they are supported by their town and their community. We want Goffstown to let the community know that we support them as we celebrate all residents of all kinds. A small gesture from the town for 1 week in the month of June will make a world of difference for those searching for a welcoming place to call home, and especially those who already do call Goffstown home. As the leaders of our community, I hope that you will consider this request.
Thank you. What look at me like that for?
We're gonna vote on that request now?
Oh, we gotta discuss it. Yeah.
Right, so, I'd like to start, where does that fit into our new policy?
Derek, could you please read number 4
Yeah,
again?
could you read it slow so I can just write it
Yeah.
down? So,
Flags displayed in conjunction with official ceremonial items. So this is other flags may be displayed in conjunction with official actions, ceremonial items, or proclamations of the Goffstown Select Board.
So would it make sense that when the request comes in, we approve the request and make a declaration at the same time, so as to cover that point?
Yes, I think you could do an
So
official
we
action.
declare
So-
whatever.
I was gonna ask, what's the definition of an official action?
I think a vote at a meeting saying that you're taking that action. Again, I think one of the examples that Pam pointed to was that it was a recognized, I guess designated month by the president, something of that, so a similar action.
And what about ceremony? Official action, ceremony, or proclamation, what would be considered a ceremony? Just for context for when, if we have.
A graduation, that'd be the
Yeah,
graduation.
the
ceremony.
graduation, we do the
Okay,
graduation
so
for the
that's
high
covered
school.
by the
whatever.
school already,
Yeah.
okay. And then a proclamation would obviously be written.
Are you buzzing?
No, it gets called, I just checked my, I also realized my watch would be ringing.
My phone's off.
this pacemaker is going off.
Sorta, kinda.
What's everybody looking at me for? Mark, what you go first?
All right, I'll go first. I'm gonna make a recommendation and to go with what Pam Boyer brought forward to us this evening by filling out the request appointment form to the select board and by what we just voted on. I'm gonna approve that we go for the pride flags for 1 week for the dates posted in the village area, 6/12 to 6/19. I mean, that's
Okay, is that a motion?
a motion.
Cause, anybody else got a chance to talk?
Say it again, Mark, I'm sorry. I'm looking for the declare part. I think the motion's to say that we declare
Yeah,
June 12th to June
Yeah.
19th to be such and such, and approve, and hereby approve
The use of the
the
flags.
use of the flags as requested.
Fine by me,
Is that okay?
Carlos. Yes, yeah, I mean.
I just wanted to get the declaration
Yeah.
word in
It's
there.
a joint motion.
Yeah, well, it's a joint purpose, yeah.
Okay, we gotta have some kind of official action in order
Right.
to do that.
The
So,
vote
so
would
what's
be-
the
We're gonna
official
vote-
The
action?
we're
vote will be official
The
action,
vote
won't
that
it,
we
Derek?
take,
My only question is, do those dates still work as that June 12th has passed us by?
It was the 12th to the 19th.
I would like to have
A full week?
a full week if I can.
So perhaps starting this coming Sunday, the 19th? push it back a week, would that be acceptable?
I would like to start on the 18th if we can.
I think that's Saturday, so.
So 18th or
18th and to be removed 1 week later,
25th?
so they're not gonna stay on for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, like the,
If you're gonna change it, you better
I've
change it
only
now.
asked for 1 week.
pardon me?
I've only asked for 1 week.
Okay, so the 18th
So
or
the
25th.
18th to the 25th.
And then after that, you'll
Take them down.
make sure they're removed and,
The original flags put back up, that
Yeah.
still bothers me about what happens to that stuff.
What's
We
up
can-
right
we're-
now?
Right now, the
I thought the school
The
ones were
schools
down.
are up right now, they had graduation last week. So we can coordinate with the school to collect those, as well as work with the Lions Club to see if they want to put up the American flags
Back up.
back up for the summer, or if they want to wait till later in the summer, we can contact those groups.
That would be nice. If they could coordinate, like helping change it and stuff.
Yep.
18th to
Jim?
25th.
I'm just trying to think if we're having any unintended consequences, that's all.
Well, yeah, we're just opening the door, is what we're doing right
We
now.
we can do any
Ma'am,
kind of
this-
proclamation and do, and
But,
allow anything we want.
and
I'm not saying that's a bad thing.
the
I'm
problem with what we're doing right now by allowing this, as far as I'm concerned, is that we're opening the door, and how do you tell another group no if you gave one group the okay? I'm just, and it's nothing against what Pam wants to do, or that month, the Pride Month. It has to do with what we're gonna do in the future, with the rest of the, Pam even mentioned is what, 9 you said? Recognized events that could potentially come into town and say, we wanna do this, use your flags to do this. That's,
Right.
Hollis is
And then-
thinking again.
Well, it's the whole timing thing. Who gets to fly, when they don't get to fly. Is it gonna be first come, first serve? People gonna be requesting in January to fly flags in May, so that nobody else can get their week.
And
kind of
I
thing.
guess I would say with Selectman Lemay's motion, that, again, there has been a presidential proclamation to declare June as Pride Month.
It's the U.S.
How many other
Department of
presidential
State.
proclamations have the president declared?
I don't have that information, they do declare other months.
I think it's the U.S. Department of State. Let me look.
I mean, is that gonna be our measuring stick? The federal government says yes, and so we follow that? I'm asking, that's right.
I think it is an expansion of the policy that I think the policy is always gonna be open to that action by the select board. It doesn't, I don't think it opens it up all the way wide to everything. It still does have some guideline to it.
I mean, as of right now, anybody could come and ask us to make a proclamation of anything.
correct.
You could ask us, but we don't necessarily have to do it.
But that's the same with this, you know?
They'll ask us as long as, I mean, they have to follow what's here in the policy that we've set up.
I would also say that it follows our. Is the baby agreeing with me?
We agree.
Some dissent.
No, it was an agreeing.
Serena, that you?
That's the person who has to put up the flags and take them down.
I would also say that it's something that we would celebrate as a non-discriminatory organization. We wouldn't, you know, that would be something that we could support in any capacity, whereas things that are polarizing and don't fall within those guidelines.
I think there's gonna be a lot of things polarizing when you put those flags up there. Not just these flags, I'm saying, could be any flags that are gonna be polarizing. I'm sorry, I disagree with the thing that, thinking that it's gonna be okay. It's not. You're gonna hear about it, we're all gonna hear about it.
Yeah, I know. I've been
And that's why there's gonna be growing
hearing about
pains.
it as long as I've been in
Well,
politics.
I understand
but-
that, but I'm just,
But certainly, no one's gonna be happy with anything, everything.
well, we haven't had any complaints up to now, that's why I'm saying. Now, if we start doing something different, you may have to start hearing complaints. Right, Jim? Jim's over there, yeah, well, he's got big shoulders.
We're gonna have to, I think we're gonna need them.
Happy to do it.
Yeah, we'll hear complaints, because I'm sure people are gonna wanna push the envelope, that's just human nature. We're gonna get some group, some fringe group that's gonna wanna come in here, we may not necessarily agree with their philosophies of the group, but they're gonna push the envelope. But, again, I have no problem with trying it, and, you know.
Okay, so let's just, I want to make it clear, because Pam brought up all the other organizations that are out there, that this does not preempt them coming in. This
Oh, no.
is strictly for what she's doing this particular time.
Case-by-case basis.
I think she has made a request under item number 4 that the board, on the
Yep.
policy that the board approved, and anybody coming in with a similar request beyond American flag, state flag, or school district flag would come before you.
And this is the flag.
Is it Military Appreciation Month? Did you find it? My phone.
Yeah, so, just for example, on May 31st, President Biden had National Ocean Month, National Immigrant Heritage Month, National Home Ownership Month, National...
I don't think it was the presidential one. She said the U.S. Department of State, the federally recognized.
Okay, so those were presidential proclamations,
Yeah,
so
not that.
I would have to look and see.
There's only 9 of them, not Ocean Month, although the ocean is important.
So that is, let's see. So there's Black History Month, Women's History Month, Arab American Heritage Month, Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, Military Appreciation Month, LGBTQ Pride Month, Caribbean American Heritage Month, Immigrant Heritage, and Hispanic Heritage Month. And then, so those are the 9.
Flag every month.
So those are the 9 that are on the...
But we would still have to have a group come in.
You'd have to have a
request.
group and come in and
Request
request
it.
it.
And there would have to be also a flag associated, which
And,
there's not
we'd have
for
to
every
make a
single one.
declaration.
Correct.
and what would you, if you didn't agree with it, what would you do?
Didn't agree with what? Any of those?
Yeah. We don't have the option now, we're just,
Well, we do have the option.
I don't think so. When you say those 9 months that we're talking about, those 9 organizations we're talking about, we're kind of adopting that. We're gonna say, okay, for those 9, if we're doing one, you gotta do all of them. You're using that as a reason to approve. So why wouldn't you use that for a reason to approve the rest of them?
I mean, my suggestion was to put it in the policy anyways, that federally recognized holidays and months of recognition, we still have to have a group come and request it. But what it limits it to is, like, I also wanted to put in no political, so nobody could request a specific political candidate's flag or anything like that, a party's flag or anything that would go outside of the things that we support as a town governance.
All right, there is a motion, isn't there? Gail,
To approve.
isn't there a motion to approve Pam Boyer's request?
Yes.
There is,
Any more discussion?
would it be possible to,
There was no second yet.
But we don't have a second on the motion, that's the only
Oh,
thing we
okay.
don't have.
would it be possible to review this policy in a month or two, or to see if there's a problem, or there's better language than we've adopted, and,
To come back to it, you mean, like a re-review?
because I don't know that we have I don't know whether we have the authority to say no to somebody on number 4, like you were saying, and I think it's kind of, I want to do,
We send Eric back to the lawyer and
well, I don't know.
I already went to the lawyer, I want you to keep paying the lawyer to say the same
Four was
thing.
approved from the lawyer, based
Well-
on the Supreme, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but the Supreme Court issue was because the town didn't have a policy in place to say no to anybody, or to anything,
What was that, in Boston?
correct?
Boston was, they were allowing people to do it, and then this one particular religious organization wanted to put their flag and they were denied.
Right, and because they didn't have a policy, that's why it was an issue.
So that's what brought that up. We're not in that position because we haven't allowed anybody to do that yet, to hang flags up there. So that's why it was important to bring the policy in before we did something.
I guess we can always bring it up and amend it at any point, right, if we have.
Do you wanna put it
policy.
on the action matrix?
Well, I don't know whether, do we need to or not, or just wait, if we have problems, we
Well,
can deal with them.
once you've let somebody do it, how do you go back and say, oh, we're changing our policy, so you can't do it?
Peter?
Just amend your policy.
That perhaps Selectman Lemay would be open to amending his motion to approve this because it is a State Department celebrated Heritage and History Month. I mean, again, it does set a bit of precedence, but it's 9 Heritage Months throughout the year, and you'd have to have a party come forward to make that request.
It's too bad we had to do this, we have to do this to make a decision like this. It's gonna affect people's feelings in town one way or another. Puts them in the middle, so I don't have a problem with it myself.
But you know of people that will have a problem?
Yeah, I
with it?
do. I already got it last night, though. I heard it already.
Feel free to give him my phone number. I mean, I've been having these
You have his phone number, he
conversations,
talks
so-
all the time to you.
Okay, great.
So, what do you wanna do? You wanna leave your motion the same?
I'm gonna leave my motion the way it is.
Jim?
Well, I think we should be specific with why we do it, I think that's important. With the
How about we allow this, put this on the burner, right? And we say we allow at one time that, to do the pride flags. And then come back until we have a policy in place. But we do allow it one time until we review the policy and put it in place. Can we do that, Derek?
You would need to rescind your vote to adopt the policy, which you did earlier in the meeting. So you would need to do that. And then you would be allowing this request without a policy in place.
Well, can't we keep the policy
And you can amend it at
and
a
amend
future
it
time.
at the next
Yep,
meeting?
it is not an ordinance, it is a policy.
You have to rescind.
You would,
That looks bad, though, if you make a policy to let somebody do something, and then the next week you change it, doesn't it?
I don't think, again, the policy was, when I presented this at your last meeting, I did not provide you any specifics of the request for the electronic message centers or the flags, just that we had received requests that were different from American flags and school district flags, and developed a policy since that last meeting, so that's what you have tonight. So it was definitely triggered by the request that came in, but it wasn't meant in any way to allow it or not allow it. It was kind of to give, really the policy is for that day-to-day, somebody comes in and asks at our office. And
Yeah,
then
they're gonna have something to refer to.
they've got something to refer to, and then they've got this category that the board can allow as an action item or a proclamation. Or there's always the option that the board can completely waive the policy and allow something else as well, because you may have a board in the future that wishes to do that.
Is that in there now?
Yes, the final bullet reserves that right for the board.
I think at the very least, we ought to, if we're going down that direction, we ought to clarify it by saying we're allowing the flags to be displayed from 6/18 to 6/25, 2022. So it's specific to this year.
It's not open-ended.
Right. I mean, at least that, at
That's
least.
fine, I'll add that to my motion. That way there, we've covered the dates. and-
Until further review of the policy.
Right. And that allows us to review it and change it because this motion was only specific to this year.
Just a moment in time.
Yeah. Yeah.
You okay with that? Jim?
Need a second on that motion, please.
I'll second it.
Motion by Mark, I'm not really sure what the motion is anymore, it's been a while. And then seconded by Collis. Gail's got the motion, right, Gail? All right.
Any chance you could read it?
No, I'll need the video to help.
Oh, okay,
I'll
all
put it
right.
together.
All right, all in favor of what the Mark's motion?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstaining, motion carries. Okay, you can all go home now. Unless you want to hang around and listen to the police chief, fire chief talk. Yeah, I don't blame you.
That stuff's not important. Peter, that stuff's not important.
Yeah, I don't care about that. I want my flag. Well, this is an update.
Yes, well, a little bit of an update and also
And a request?
task, kind of an ask, informative session. So I'll start with the update of our radio project. As you all know, last year we came to you and put together a package of our failing radio system. We're very thankful that you've given us the entire ARPA funds that we've been working with our vendor, Cybercom. To this date, Cybercom has put together their entire package. They've ordered all of our equipment. They've elected to go with a single order so they don't piecemeal it and send it at different times. Everything, including the steel for the towers, everything's on order. We should be getting towers probably the end of this month. Our dispatch consoles are coming in. The only thing that we're looking at supply chain issues are going to be the actual radios themselves. I think that's kind of what we're seeing across the nation and the world right now. So Motorola is just backordered on that. So we're moving forward. The good thing with us right now is that the radios are stable, but they're still without their problems. We just had another antenna go down at St. A's the other day that we had to have our company come out and replace that antenna. So it's just a constant battle. But we're here in front of you all tonight to let you know that Cybercom is looking to go to the planning board to talk to them about building these two tower sites. One is that our building, the police department, is going to be replacing its tower there. And the other one is going to be replacing the, I guess it's considered a tower, in the trees at Station 17. Part of the thought here is just coming to this board before we go to TRC and to the planning board, is to let you all know this is what's coming, this is what we're doing, and in a sense get your blessing before we go to TRC and the planning. In your packet, you have kind of where we're at, what the RSA is that governs our governmental use of our property, and the plans of what Cybercom and Green Mountain, who's their contractor for towers, have drafted, and are going to be going to TRC and to planning if you all are good with it.
Wasn't that the plan all the way along?
Yeah.
It was. This is an opportunity for you
If anything
to
changed.
to ask the police chief or fire chief any questions. Again, currently the tower that you have at the police station is only a 70-foot tower, and they're putting in one that's going to be 110 feet. So when it starts to go up,
And 17 is going to be the big one, because
Seven-
you've got a 75-foot tower that's in the woods attached to a tree that nobody can see, and we're putting, I think it's
160.
Yeah, 160-foot tower. That one particularly is going to be in the parking lot to the right of Station 17, so as people on that side of town start driving by and seeing this tower go up, they're going to probably be asking questions. Hopefully they see this in our social media, and but essentially...
497-485. So Chief, it'll be in that open area and kind of near the outbuildings, and a little
Yes.
outbuilding over there.
At
so-
Station 17?
Yeah,
Yep,
that's right in that
parking lot.
area.
So they've chosen that because of the size of the tower, the core drillings, the footprint, also due to the fact there's some leach fields in the back of the Station
Yeah.
17 and some underground wiring from the well. So that's the best spot for that tower.
Yeah, there are. You have plans for both the police station and the fire station in your packet.
Thanks.
So really, that's just a brief update, and just letting you guys know this
We're
is,
still on budget?
as of right now, yes.
Did we get all the money? Wasn't that gonna come in a couple?
So it comes in two halves. The first half of approximately $900,000 was deposited back in August or September. And then the second half will be coming in sometime this summer. We haven't gotten an exact date from the state of New Hampshire because they are the ones that are actually dispersing the federal money down to the local community.
Mark, you have a question?
I'm very happy and pleased to see that the plan is moving along fine. My concern is, how long have we been talking about a new police station? We're going to spend this money to put that tower up. Now what happens, Now we got the land across the street. What are we gonna do with that tower? How are we gonna make it work?
Yeah, good point. And I'm happy to tell you that as far as I've been told from Green Mountain, that as long as the new facility, when they design it and the engineers and architects put it together, they put the footprint down and build the foundation, this tower at our police department will, can be deconstructed and then brought over to the new facility and then erected again. The other part, the good news is because of the system that we've designed or Cybercom has put together, we're not relying on this singular tower to be our transmit or receive site. So once it does come down at that point, we should have minimal interruption according to those Green Mountain and Cybercom. So that's the good news.
We talked about that originally, about moving it if we had to, it wasn't a big deal.
I just wanna make sure that, yeah.
Anybody else got any questions?
So,
Calls?
I'm just curious, so with private entities, I know we're a municipal entity, so the rules aren't the same. But private entities wants to put in a tower, they have to identify a drop zone, so if the thing comes crashing down, we know. Do you go through any sort of an analysis with that? Do you notify people who would be in a drop zone that?
So Green Mountain did put together at Station 17 that zone, and that's why that's part of their choosing is putting it in that section of, or that part of Station 17. But I'm not 100% sure if I can answer that accurately without talking to them. I just know that the tower that we have now is in the fall zone of the house that's right next to Station 17, and that was one of their issues of the urgency of getting rid of that tower. But it is a 100+ foot tower that if it does fall, who knows which way it's gonna go, but that's why they chose it kind of in that central location. Most likely it'll fall on Station 17, causing significant damage. There goes your fire station.
Life on the edge.
Add that right to our insurance binder, right?
And then all the people on that side of town will have
Anybody else got any
It
questions?
has a motion on here, right?
I think the motion
Yep.
was just to approve that you guys are all set with us
Plans presented by the planning
Yeah.
board.
There.
review.
to go into TRC and planning.
Mark, did you just make that motion?
I did, sir.
I'll second it.
I'll second it.
Either way.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, move on.
Thank you, good
You're
evening.
welcome. DPW Director, we are on 7A. Just 7, I guess.
Yeah, 7.
Good evening. Okay, so item 7A for you tonight, I've got a couple of bid award recommendations. We opened sealed bids June 1st for tire vendors, our curbside refuse truck, both the cabin chassis and the side loader and body. Taking them in the order, I guess I've got them in the memo there. We received 3 bids for the tires, sales and service. Maynard and Lessier, Pete's Tire Barns, and Sullivan Tire. Much like the last 2, I think, times that we've gone out to bid for tires, there's been, of course, some tire size that one vendor might have a better price than another. It's worked out fairly well. There's been some of the bids mirror the state tire bid, and some don't. That changes pretty quickly. So what we'd like to do is what we've done in the past few awards and keep all 3 bidders on call, and then the maintenance foreman can pick the vendor for any particular tire that has the best price. I do have the individual tire sizes and prices if anybody's interested in that list, but because we're awarding all 3, I didn't feel the need to include that piece in the package if the board sees fit. That's what we'd like to do, because it's flexibility as well as the best price for the town, and not just awarding to one because they might meet 50% of the tires that they have are the lowest price versus the others.
Are we always gonna include the state bid in this as well? Or are you looking to just look at these 3?
Per the purchasing policy, we're always able to go with a state bid if we wanted to. So if these 3 couldn't provide a certain tire, but a state bidder, one of the state bid awardees, could provide that tire, we could call them under the purchasing policy.
What is the price difference typically? Is the state bid lower? And it's more of a timing issue
I
getting it?
can't really say that for sure. It's, you know, there's
You ready for
hundreds
tires?
of.
I've bid many of these tire bids.
No, I know you have, but the state bid costs aren't on here, and I just wanna make sure that
Well,
we're going, like, how do we go for lowest cost versus the
because
ability?
a lot of times, people will actually bid less
I
than the
know,
state
I know,
bid.
but I'm saying the time to get it as well. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're giving them the ability to go through these three, plus the state bid price. I mean, if it's
Most of
within
these-
budget,
Most of these are state bid priced.
A good chunk of them seem
Yeah.
to be.
or you just said it was a separate sheet, no?
So there are separate state contracts, Goodyear, I'll let you rattle them off.
Goodyear, Firestone, Michelin, they all,
There you go.
Bridgestone, they all put out, they all have state bid pricing. Okay, now, it's up to, we may like a Michelin tire and the state bid prices that are, you know, another town might like a Goodyear tire. And you can look at the price now, if you're looking at some of these prices, you're saying, well, this Michelin and this Michelin from the same, two different companies are exactly the same price. That tells me that was a state bid price. Okay, so, and you can go down and you see what others tires don't match up, and this person's, I know these people, so some of them may not be a general dealer, so they can't give you the state price on the general tire. So, it's just the way,
All I'm asking is the price versus the turnaround time to get them, because I know they're more difficult to get right now.
that
Are you
is,
just balancing that within your budget, or is that something that you're actively looking at as well?
If a tire wasn't available for one reason or another from one vendor, and it's not you know, if we're not buying snow tires in May, let's say, and the mechanic foreman has the ability to wait for those tires, I'm presuming we'll go with a low bid. If it's, you know, hey, I got a nail and I need a repair, you need a repair, or if I need a new set now, I think we're gonna find the, you know, the balance of the best available price at the fastest return time if it's an emergent type situation, so.
if the tire's not available, it's not available. I mean, that's been a problem for the last 18 months, that there's really a shortage, especially on heavy truck tires. So, you gotta kinda shop it around. Sometimes you gotta go to an off-brand, there is not a state bid price, you gotta pay whatever it is just to get the tire, because nothing else is available. So, I mean, that's just the way it works. Everybody's gonna bid it, but if you look at the very first line, you'd see quite a bit of difference there, you know, on the bid, that you got one company at 210, one at 104, and then another one at 212. So, you know, there's quite a
That's
bit
why
of
I'm
difference.
asking how he's managing it, because of that exact issue.
But, you know, and Derek is a former finance director and acting part-time finance director. The majority of our tire purchases fall below the purchasing thresholds for bidding anyway. The reason we do this the last few years anyway is because over the course of the year, it's a pretty good sizable amount that we're sending out in tires, and I think we just want to make sure we're not, you know, just picking somebody because they might be right in town or next door or what, you know, whatever. So I think the goal is to get the best price that we can, but if it's a turnaround issue, you know, that's probably going to rule the day if it's an emergency. And then, of course, the way things have gone with some of the state contracts, force majeure provisions could kick in, and next thing we know, we can't get any tire for that price. Might be back to you to see if we want to hold anybody's feet to the fire about pricing that they bid, you know, that they quoted here in May, and whether or not next February, if things continue that the way they've gone, do we want to, you know, we don't want anybody to lose money every time they sell Goffstown a tire either, because we'll never get another bid from them again. So if things get crazy and the state bid gets canceled, for example, I'd probably come back to you just to see how you feel about it.
All right. I'll make the motion that we award the 2022-2023 tire sales and service to Pete's Tire Barn of Manchester, Maynard and Lazer of Nashua, and Sullivan Tire of Manchester.
Second.
Any further questions or discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, motion passes.
Okay, thank you. The second and third are both related to the same truck. So in our CIP process and in the annual budget, we allocate money for a curbside truck. This year, we had budgeted $320,000 for the complete package, so that's cab and chassis, which is sold separately from the automated side loader arm and the body, which, you know, packs the refuse as it's loaded. We received 2 bids. Sorry, I'll take the cabin chassis first. So if you look in your packet, we've received 4 bids for the cabin chassis. The low bidder being McDevitt Trucks of Manchester for $183,824. It's for a Mack truck. The only problem with this, even though it is the low bid, the delivery schedule was the one that was most up in the air. So whereas the others look like they would either be 3 months, 6 months, or potentially mid-August. In one case, this is they gave us a we'll have it to you sometime in 2023. So we had to kind of weigh that with the relative known quantity that is Mack. They've been around a long time. Reliability is pretty good. Crane Carrier, Autocar, and Dennis Eagle. Autocar's been around a while, but all 3 of those, there's not as much adoption in New England. So when you have a problem, where's the closest service center and how soon can they get you in? What kind of parts availability is there? Some of these unknowns that you know we really haven't dealt with any of those 3 manufacturers to any major degree. We bought a used Yard Horse last year. You probably don't remember the model was an Autocar, but that's the only Autocar that we've got in the fleet right now. The other 2, Dennis Eagle is more of a bus platform, and the Crane Carrier is relatively new. Battle Motors and Crane Carrier have emerged recently. But I think after discussion with the fleet mechanic, our recommendation to the board would be to go with the low bidder with the Mack, even though it's got a longer delivery. We'd rather wait for the known quantity and quality that we can expect from a Mack, in addition to the ability to take that probably to several places if we need to, but for the initial period where we've got a potential for warranty work, we're somewhere close that can get us in. We just didn't have those that warm of a feeling with the others that we could get a rapid return on our equipment, especially in the case of the curbside truck where it's one of 3. We really need to be able to get in and back as soon as we can.
Al, I got a question.
Yes, sir.
That sounds all great and everything, but it's $7,000 difference with the auto car, and then it goes up from there. How much money are we going to spend in potential maintenance on that truck that we're not going to replace for another year?
That's a valid question. So it is a bit of a roll of the dice when you hang on to these. I kind of hinted at this, and this would kick that can a little bit for the final discussion, but I had hinted at this a few meetings ago that going forward I planned to recommend to the board that we actually hang on to this particular trade-in, or this particular truck, instead of trading it in or selling it, so we get to a place where we have 4 curbside trucks, primarily because of our routes being getting to the critical point of how many households you can hit in one day, still be out during a reasonable time. But also because if we hope to make the jump to electric vehicle, not with this purchase, but I'd like to target the next curbside truck. Usually the grant money will stipulate that you destroy the engine, the diesel burning engine that you're getting rid of and replacing if you want grant funds to replace it. So if we plus up to 4, we might be able to get 1 or 2 under a grant, but those would have to go away. So if we start at 3 now, we're getting to a place where we're converting to electric potentially, and maybe 2/3 of our fleet is electric. That might not be a very comfortable place to be the first time we bring in the electric truck into town. I'd rather have a good fleet that we can rely on if the electrics run into problems. We're not stuck with 3 electric trucks, for example, or 2 out of 3 being electric, and then we can't get them maintained. So I think looking ahead, that would be my recommendation. And as you said, the cost of maintenance goes up. That 4th, where it's a high production vehicle, where we miss it the minute it's down, I start to sweat, because now we have no backup truck for curbside. There's not just a bat signal you can throw up and have a curbside truck come in from somebody to help you pick up. If people start having to go 2 weeks between pickups, we're gonna hear about it. So I think there's a lot of good reason to keep that fourth truck when that time does come, but to your point, with any of these, I do like to stretch the replacement cycle a little longer than, some folks would like to get you on a lease and every 3 or 4 years you're turning over equipment, but
What was the budget for that, Adam?
320,000. So if you
It's 33 over.
jump ahead to the right to the next item, to upfit with the loading arm and the body, we've come in, at 159 and just over 160 for the 2 bids. There, I'd also recommend the low bid. That's our preferred body right now. We have both. We have a New Way body and we have a Labrie body, and we've had good experience with the Labrie, and seems to be a little bit more robust for our operation. So that would be my recommendation there as well. Added some additional money for an extended engine and transmission warranty, and a hopper roof addition, which was recommended by the low bidder as something you can put on the top. So right now, it's not all the time, but on a windy, gusty day when you go to tip the barrel, we don't really have much on the trucks to catch any debris in that critical period between when it leaves the barrel and when it gets into the truck. So it's in a hopper, it's somewhat protected. I guess they make a little bit of a shelter, a reinforced shelter to go over it and around it, so when you tip the barrel, when you can't pick up some of that recycling especially and blow it down the street. So you may see a little bit, the litter critter crew might be happier with us. Certainly the neighborhoods might look a little better if we start to include that option going forward. But yes, as you mentioned, we'd be above our budget amount of 320 if we go with both. We've still got a few CIP vehicles left. We still have a pretty big CIP project left in the garage ventilation sprinkler. But I've also, the silver lining of being where we are with our manpower issues that we've had budgeted positions that have been unfilled for a good portion of the year now. And probably by the time we get people backfilled into them, even if I were to find people on the street tomorrow to get into these, I'm going to have a pretty hefty surplus, I think, in personnel lines this year. So I would recommend that if you want to do an official budget transfer, I could probably work with the finance department once they're back to full staff and make those numbers exactly line up if you want to go that route. But I'm confident as a department, the bottom line budget will be able to support the additional cost for the
Additional 33,000?
Yes.
I mean, I understand doing it now because the cost of everything is going up, but, I mean, you're for sure you have $33,000 to move over to cover that?
Sadly.
Well, that's nice, and everything, but how are we covering the expense for fuel? The extra expense for fuel, which was, how much did you say that was gonna be?
Right. I think
How do you have
that's-
that much money?
Well, when you gap 3 or 4 positions for at least 6 months so far, and there's no end in sight with some of the positions we had to talk about tonight in non-public, and then the fact that I just don't have applicants, to fill even what's currently open, let alone the ones that are about to be open. It's just a fact. We have to budget for 100% salaries, benefits, and insurances. So.
Well, the only problem with that is when you go to the budget committee, you budget for a certain amount of people, and then you don't hire the people, and you don't spend that money, but then you take that money and you spend it someplace else.
Right. My preference would be, I think everybody knows between last budget season and this, inflation's gone through the roof. And my preference would be to not make the transfer, come into budget season, and they'll say, well, you way overspent your CIP line, and I'll say, yep, and my bottom line is still okay because of X, Y, and Z. But here's the story of, the last 12 months and what that's done to especially equipment and vehicle purchases, but fuel, of course, as well is going to be overspent. So, little good news, but it's not, can't move these funds about. The governor, I think on his desk awaiting signature, has got some extra funds for highway and bridge repair. Non-lapsing funds similar to what they did a few years ago, but they can't supplant local funding that's already been budgeted. They can supplement. So we have I think it's about $700,000 between road and bridge work that'll be coming in. So I'll have at a future meeting another request for that, but that's my good news that I can give to you. Is at the same time, I'll tell you that our
Trying to
rates are
cover
high.
the bad news with the good news.
Do what you can, try to keep my job. So yes, my recommendation would be to overspend and then not make the withdrawal, and then I'll tell the full story at budget season of, this is what we thought last year, this is what happened. And we've adjusted my preliminary CIP numbers already to get to the committee. So they'll already see some numbers that were bigger than last year's, of course, based on current pricing, but that might be a moving
Okay,
target.
so we need a motion still on these trash trucks, right?
I'll recommend the award of the refuse truck cab and chassis to McDivitt Truck of Manchester, New Hampshire in the amount of $191,481 for a,
191, where'd you get that?
That's right.
That includes
That
the,
includes
Oh,
the
okay,
extended
okay.
warranty.
I'm looking at the other thing here.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm
and,
sorry.
for a Mack LR 64.
I'll second.
Motion by Mark, seconded by Kelly. Any discussion? What happens if it doesn't come in time? Is that a solid bid?
so there is a possibility that, what is it called? I don't think I have it right in front of me. It does include a possibility they can tell us, 9 months from now, the same inflationary rate that we've had comes in, that we're gonna have to come up with some raw materials. I forget what.
So there's a,
We approved
There's
that
a
amount,
potential for
so-
a raw materials
Huh?
fee
I
if
said,
raw
well, we
material
approved that
pricing
amount,
goes up.
so.
Right. So if they come to me in 4 or 5 months pre-build and tell me, oh, by the way, the price of steel has gone up 100% from where it was last year, we're gonna need a raw materials fee of X to continue build schedule, I'll come back to you at that point and decide if we're gonna go that way. But it does, because of such a long timeline, they do have that provision in there.
it just concerns me, we could go with the other one and have it next month or 2 months away. And you'd know for sure what your price, more closely what your price is gonna be versus something that's gonna be out there another, 8, 9 months. I know I go through that on a regular basis with some of the stuff that I sell with steel service charges, and it's, like, effective today, the price is this, and you may have lost the $190,000 deal.
There is some risk. The piece that worries us the most is if we have a breakdown with a place that doesn't have a service center close by, how many weeks are we down, and
Yeah.
how much is that worth to us?
I get it.
And exactly, the discussions that nobody really has a crystal ball, and the answer, if we pick one, the other will probably happen, and, Murphy's Law, I guess, but our feeling was it would be more cumbersome to the operations of the town, the curbside service that we provide, and the cost to hire out another company to come in and pick up, even if it's manually, for even a couple weeks, if we have to send to New York State or Pennsylvania or something to have a truck serviced at one of those, other places. We thought it was, in the end, it's probably gonna be a wash if you do have that kind of a situation with an
Want the
unknown.
second motion?
Pardon me?
Want the second motion?
Yeah.
I'll make a motion, we award the automated side loader and body to sanitation equipment of West Haven, Connecticut, in the amount of $161,538.
Second.
Motion by Kelly, seconded by Jim. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, motion passes.
Thank you.
Non-resident,
Caregiver?
Yeah, so a couple times in the past, we've had requests similar to this. We've got a woman who lives outside of town, but her grandchildren that she cares for, I think regularly during the summer, live in town. But due to the childcare situation, she'd like to be able to use her vehicle to bring the kids to the lake. In your memo, you've got her name and town she lives in Hampstead, and where her kids live, or grandkids rather, live here in town on Page Hill. In the past, I think we had one request came through admin, and the town administrator at the time signed a windshield permit that the police would be able to recognize if they came to that car. And then another time DPW had a request, and I think the director had signed one. So just lay the request here at the board's feet and let you decide if you're okay with that, and who you'd like to issue that permit.
yeah, it's no brainer. You made the motion, Jim?
Why do I get the no-brainer?
No comment.
So we're doing a paper permit?
That's what we've done, yeah,
Yeah.
instead of the sticker.
Recommend issuing a Glen Lake waterfront non-resident caregiver permit to Nancy Lathrop of Hampstead, New Hampshire.
I'll second that.
Motion by Jim, seconded by Collis. Any discussion? Seeing none, motion passes.
Thank you.
Oh,
You
I
okay
even
with
call
me?
for a
You
vote.
want- you want-
All in favor?
Aye.
Getting along here. Next,
And you're okay with DPW issuing that?
Yeah.
Temporary permit? Okay, thank you. Next, big topic, but hopefully a shortish discussion. As part of my CIP, I've got some money that I had slotted in tentatively for roof repairs, and then the idea being that if you have a roof that's got now a long length of life left on it, you're able to support a rooftop solar installation. So I know the town had maybe a half dozen years ago or so, we kind of tentatively discussed the discussion of a solar project in town, but it didn't really pick up steam. Plenty of companies, of course, right now that are willing to either sell you solar or enter a public-private partnership agreement where they can take advantage of tax breaks by dealing with a government entity. We can take advantage of the fact that they can apply for a tax incentive, so it makes the overall cost of purchase cheaper, or come in at a zero price point. They own the equipment. We just benefit from energy savings, or I should say energy, local energy generation to offset what we already consume. The bigger projects now are benefiting from that brand new law, which increased the net metering limits for municipalities, so you can actually have a bigger project. That would be sort of something different. That's like a landfill solar type thing, or town land is converted over to solar fields. We could get about an 80 kilowatt system just on the highway garage building itself. One of the things about solar, the real benefit is to get the panels on the consumption side of the meter. So if we never send electricity to Eversource, they don't get their cut, so to speak. So you can get you generate your own power that you're already using, and you can save the most money per kilowatt. The question tonight is, A, if the board supports an idea of moving to some solar projects, would you like to do this as a department-specific thing, or would you prefer to either go out to bid or fall back on another place's bid and go for a town-wide deal where every department can talk about how much they consume and if it would make sense for this building versus that building. I just didn't want to, back us into doing just a DPW project if the board wanted to do something wider, or vice versa.
well, really, the only two other buildings is this one, and I don't even know if you could do it on this one. And would be the two fire stations.
Well, I think what Adam is talking about is the new law that went into effect where you can have an off-site solar, you partner with a solar field, and they can have a 5 megawatt generation, and they sell it back to the grid, and then you buy it from Eversource at 90% versus 100%. So that's how but they can only partner with political subdivisions, towns, water precincts, or school districts, so.
There was talk about doing it over in Penonville at one time.
I think the numbers we had gotten, they could do it, and it makes sense. The most cost-effective installations are rooftops because less wiring, less structural needs. With a landfill, it gets a little trickier with the setup. Obviously, they're happening, so it's not impossible by any means. I just didn't want to let the camel's nose under the tent with DPW's little project, and then it turns into, well, why not this, why not that, so figured before we go anywhere, before I make a presentation to CIP about anything. And then the second major question is, okay, if you want to proceed with that, would you, in theory, prefer a purchase where we pay a lot of bit up front, but we save immediately on electricity and you get some savings. If you look at one of the handout, bottom left corner, there's a kind of a graph. The three big options, at least this one company offers, an initial purchase by a town, talking about 200,000 plus just for the highway garage. But you own it, we own it right out of the gate. They've got warranties for 25 years, but the expected life is about 40 years apparently. But you're saving day one on electricity for highway, and if we're not even using what we make, then we're selling some back to the grid and making some money on the net meter and piece to offset other town facilities. They've got options where you buy it after 6 years, so the investors pay for it up front. They get their biggest bang, they get their tax incentive right out of the gate. After the first couple of years of depreciation have been able to be written off on their books. Year 6 now, after the 5-year depreciation window, they'll sell it to you at a reduced price, and now you own it from year 6 and beyond. As you can see, those two kind of track with your energy savings, regardless of whether you buy it all up front or if you buy it after year 6. You start talking 15 years down the road, and there's not a huge difference to the town. But and then, you know, option 3 is just do a power purchase agreement right from the get-go. We would pay nothing up front. We just have to provide a rooftop that's suitable. Somebody else buys it, somebody else maintains it, somebody else operates it. We get a benefit, but the benefit is, you know, smaller per kilowatt out of the gate. Once that power purchase agreement is paid off, you know, about 25 years, everything after that becomes gravy to the town, and that's where that curve kind of sweeps up as well to kind of follow the others. So those are the 3 big options for different kind of ways to go. So if you wanted to go that route and you wanted to do it project by project versus town-wide, those would be kind of the next step decision to make, is how you want to proceed, because I would put money in my CIP that I'm about to present next month, you know, for that option if you wanted to do that versus just rooftop repairs, and forget the solar piece when I go to CIP, you know what I mean? I don't want to come to them with a small number and then come to the board a couple months later and the board says, oh no, we'd love to purchase up front. Oh, I should have asked CIP that, you know, a month or 2 ago, kind of thing.
So this, what I'm looking at is this one here,
Yes.
and it says the upfront cost financed by investor partners, $215. Is that what it would cost us also?
Roughly. If we wanted that, you know, if that's the version the town would want, I think they could rework something. And I'm not, you know, advocating revision over anybody else. They've done a lot of the municipal projects, but I had asked them just for a one-pager type thing about what are we even talking here about numbers if we wanted to buy our own. So that's the rough ballpark that, yes, today to get a 80 kilowatt to install, it's about $215,000.
Or we could take in 6 years, we can buy them out for $135.
Exactly. So no cost today, save a little bit on energy for 6 years, give them that money in year 6, and then save a lot on energy from year 6 and beyond. Or option 3 is you pay them nothing now, pay them nothing ever. We have a nice build of energy savings until year 25, and then it really ramps up where we fully own the system.
If we didn't pay anything now, we can't buy it in for 6 years? Couldn't do it before, or could you do it after 6 years?
They didn't mention a different, I think the 6 is pegged to that normal IRS depreciation 5-year window for capital purchase. There may be, I'm sure there is. Money talks, you could probably make up any terms if we wanted to get tricky with it, for sure. The nice piece, I don't know if it's nice, but the interesting thing about a 6-year buyout is that gets me outside the current CIP window, so I wouldn't be coming to them requesting a lump of money in the current projected window. I would be able to go to them next year and have a project pop up on year 5, and then they'd watch it track. You know, I hate coming to CIP and say I need a bunch of money next year, and they say, why didn't you ask me for the last 4 years? Why didn't I see it come up at the out years?
What happened if you decided not to buy out after 6 years?
So that just, they own it, the investor owns it for the 25-year period, and then after the 25th year, coincident with I think, the warranty expiration, after that point, now you own it, or we own it, I guess, as a town.
It's 25 years, yeah, go for yours.
Right.
So what's the savings if we would, I don't, it's kind of a bunch of numbers here. What's the savings if we did it ourselves?
So if we buy it ourselves, you'd be looking at the, are your full color versions in your handouts?
Yep.
Okay. So in the bottom left drawing, there's the 3 colors. The dark blue is the buy it ourselves option. It starts off with a cost to us of $200,000. We would recoup full investment at, looks like about year 16, year 17. I'm sorry, about year 15 where it crosses the 0 line there. So it takes a bit to buy that back because it's a relatively small system. We have a fair amount of consumption at the transfer station. for our compactors and overhead lights, but mostly the compacting equipment. Unfortunately, that's on a different meter than the highway garage. So there's an option of this if you wanted to really have me pursue it, where we do a system on the highway garage inside that meter, a system on the transfer station inside that meter, and maybe take advantage. But I didn't really necessarily hope to get in too much into the weeds for that. I just kind of wanted the board's thoughts of this is something for all department heads to get together and pursue and come as a collective. Hey, Parks and Rec's got some land available, maybe a ground-mounted unit over here makes sense. Police station maybe doesn't make sense or does. Fire department makes sense or not. I just didn't want to go it alone if you didn't want me to.
I don't think it would hurt for everyone to look, but I do know when this came up, 3-4 years ago, we did talk about areas, Barnard Park being one of them, but there wasn't enough. I mean, I think if they want to check it out, that's fine, but I don't want that to stop you from pursuing the option, if that's what you are
I
interested
don't
in
really know how
doing.
many, if you were to do separate ones in separate buildings, I don't know.
Would there even be a benefit at going at it together, because you're on separate
Yeah.
meters anyways?
Right.
'Cause this could be an unreserved fund balance project.
It certainly could. You now reduce your operating costs year one pretty significantly in that piece.
So, Adam, does Revision Energy do the engineering analysis to make sure the building can accommodate the system?
This company does. I'm presuming most that offer
Okay.
that power purchase setup would as well, but I asked them and they do if they're used.
What do they give for, because I would like to look at the upfront cost, however, I don't know that we can direct you in good faith knowing that we don't really know what the budget looks like just yet. And as Peter mentioned, we could use it as a unreserved fund balance, but I don't want to say yes or no when I haven't even seen any budget for
The
anything.
safe thing
you
for
know?
me, which doesn't sound great when I propose big projects, would be to go to CIP, full roof repair, full solar purchase upfront. And then at least it could be whittled down if we get through the budget and realize we can't squeeze it, or decide that there's not the interest level. We could always go back to a power purchase agreement. We pay nothing, they figure it out, or nix the project altogether, I guess. But it would be safest if I go next month to CIP with a full project and we pay for it, and let the chips fall in the budget process.
So what are you looking for us to?
Just I guess the blessing to proceed with the CIP project and let that process
Yeah, I don't see
play
why
out.
not.
Okay.
If it comes budget time and we say, I don't think so, we'll just say, I don't think so, but it doesn't hurt to have it in there.
And I think,
But the only problem with just, is it in CIP now?
so it hasn't been up until now. So it was a new item in the matrix that I added for the board's meetings
Is that
this year. So
kind
they've
of
got
gets
it.
the people with CIPs, the capital improvement projects, that you look to work them in, and all of a sudden you come in, boom, give me this $300,000 or whatever.
Right, right,
It's really not how it's designed to work, but,
right.
right,
I hate to turn
as you well know.
a roof waterproofing project into a,
Yeah.
six-figure project, but then on the flip side of that, that's, there is a benefit, of course, so.
All right, anything else?
Okay, so I'll proceed with that plan then, thank you. I did have one other, it didn't make the meeting agenda unfortunately because it came in after the meeting was set, but one of our auction vehicles that we sold and transferred title last week to, an old cruiser. At the time that it was parked for auction, one of the cruisers had no check engine codes and one did. We listed the two vehicles with that information. So one said no codes, one said codes. The price difference, the final bid price for the one showing a code was $2,350 less than the one that had no codes. But no one who bid came to test drive, check, give the vehicles a one-through. It was basically site from the pictures I had online, and then a couple of Q&As in the bidding software. That was it. So somebody came to pick it up, they had paid, signed the transfer documents, fired up the engine, and the vehicle that had no codes a month ago when it was parked, maybe probably 6 weeks at this point, now has a code. The purchaser was told by the mechanics that it was nothing major was wrong with this vehicle before it was parked, before it was put on auction, but they, were not advertising it as, this has a warranty or anything like that. It's as is. Whatever was said between the mechanic and the person who purchased it, they were comfortable enough to take it home, and have since had a mechanic look at it and some catalytic converter code or whatever. But the request was, it was listed as no codes, and when I picked it up, it had a code. Is the board interested in any sort of partial refund discussion for a vehicle that was placed at a public auction? I said I would bring that to you tonight for discussion.
But the buyer was aware of this before they took possession of the vehicle and still proceeded with the sale anyways, knowing that there was a code.
They were made aware the code flashed, yes, before it was removed off lot. So they, I don't know if, we're not a car dealership, so we don't have any kind of, taillight warranty.
And what was the
language or
difference
anything like
between the
that.
cost?
2,300, yes, 2,350, so $2,350 was the final bid difference between the two, one that had a code and one didn't.
It was
What
a
was the
bid.
code?
Catalytic converter, I don't know what the
Probably
actual
gonna have
code
to-
number was, or what the,
The catalytic converter is probably plugged up, it's starting to get plugged in, it's throwing the code, so.
What did the purchase and sale agreement say?
as is, we use the
Eads
municipal documents, basically is the contract of, here's what we're purporting the vehicle to be, here are the answers that have been, questions that have been answered. The other sale information really is just, buyer's info and our info. So, we're not claiming anything aside from the fact that the question was asked and verified, yes, this has no codes. So I do feel like it's not
So
out
what do you
of
want
the-
to throw them $500 or something?
I mean, I think it's probably, I feel a little bad because I'm the one that's answering these questions and, people bid accordingly. So I think it's not just like they're saying, well, the brakes are rough, I want a discount, well, it's not the way this works, but when
You specifically said there was no
I
code.
specifically answered this one, had it in the listing and then I was asked again and said no, and then a month later, so it was truthful at the time, there was no code, but by the time the engine was picked up and started, it did.
Well, why don't you negotiate, see what you want, because we're offering $500.
I mean, I don't know about that. I'd like to see the purchase and sale agreement. If he knowingly took it, and what did our mechanic tell him? Did he show him the code? I mean, I'm not a mechanic. I don't know what that means.
So the process is they come here to town hall, they pay, sign over the title, do the bill of sale, and then they proceed over to DPW.
And what does the bill of sale say?
I don't have it in front of me, but we do,
I
it's
don't
pretty
think
much
there's
as is,
There's
no warranty.
No legalese, but municipal bids, I'd have to print it out from municipal bids page. This is when you bid, this is what your, the general terms and conditions of
Yeah, but
using.
you don't want to get the word out there that this guy said this, and be careful, Goffstown, they lie.
I mean, he was
right.
informed prior to agreeing to continue on with the sale.
He'd
Without
already
seeing,
completed the sale, and when he went over there, he'd already completed the sale, when he went over there, that's when they found the light was on. Is that what you're saying?
is that,
He had already
True.
signed, he had paid,
Yeah.
we had signed our end, so technically it was complete. I think had the purchaser not left and said, well, wait a minute, you said X, I'm not taking this thing until it's either fixed or you refund me. I think that discussion would have been had, and I wouldn't have even brought you, we'd just say, sorry, we're gonna put this back out to bid, or we would have repaired it, or, whatever the case may
Yeah,
be.
but once you sign the title over to somebody, it really becomes a pain.
Right, I don't wanna necessarily buy it back or anything like that. I think everybody's gonna have a slightly different feel of it. Me personally, I know I feel a little bit of a sense of guilt because I'm the one that said there's no code. So I'd be willing to sell that for the exact same price. The cars are almost identical, same model year, they had 5,000 miles, I think, difference between the, about 5,000.
so you want to give him a
so
$2,300 refund?
I think that's my recommendation, keeps us in good graces in the municipal bid system. If somebody's gonna rate us, they're not saying we tried to bait and switch or anything like that.
It may cost them $300 to fix the problem, though.
Could.
That's what I say, offer them $500. I mean,
Or could we just have him get an estimate similar to
Yeah.
an insurance
Let's
claim
see
of what
what
it
it's
would
gonna
cost
cost
to
and
fix
then-
it? And we
insurance
fix it?
claims, you can't cover that under insurance claim.
No, I said similarly to, like, if you're gonna make a claim, you have to get how much to cover it.
What's the price of a new catalytic converter? $500-600, right?
So
Give
I'm
them-
asking, get a bill or an
Yeah.
estimate and then see.
Whatever it costs to repair the problem, that's what we'll pay you back in.
That
If
doesn't
it's
work. He's gonna bring it to his
$5,000.
buddy, it's gonna cost him $3,000. You don't ever wanna do that.
Just ask for an invoice, what's it gonna cost? Then you can talk.
I mean, I'm willing to do whatever the board wants, I think
I think we ought to start with an estimate.
Yeah.
What's it gonna cost? How do we know? Well, those things are all over the place.
Estimate provided by the buyer or from us going to Ford and saying, what's it gonna cost?
No, I assume-
Where is the
we-
vehicle located?
Rye, I think. Rye,
We already took it, right?
Right, he's already got the car.
Yeah.
And do we have record of what the code actually was?
Zeb put it on the machine and get
We
the number.
didn't read the code, so when he started up, he said, hey, this thing's got a code, it's not supposed to have a code. I said, well, it ran fine before it was shut down, these are as is, I don't know what to tell you. He decided to take it, paraphrasing, I'm sure, but.
Catalytic code's probably one of the more expensive codes there is.
So we didn't verify that there actually was a code when you started?
There
it?
was, but didn't.
We didn't
plug
scan-
and
we
say-
didn't scan it.
Didn't scan it. Right. From our mechanics perspective, we sold this as is, hindsight being what it was, They don't know if I've answered a question on municipal bid about a certain thing or not.
I think you need to get an estimate, because we don't know at this point. I got a vehicle with 4 catalytic converters in it, 2 big ones up front, 2 small ones in the back, so it could be. Need an
And do
estimate.
do you want to get too wrapped up around that or not? There is the option of just making an offer and.
Now you're asking this guy to take the vehicle someplace, get an estimate on it, he was gonna take it to a Ford dealer, because we're not gonna believe him, but, take it to Joe Smoke's, repair shop, and it's the guy's best buddy, or maybe it's even his shop.
Is he willing to bring the vehicle back here?
May for us to work on, you mean?
Yeah. That way there we have a true and accurate,
We can make that offer if that's what the board wants to
yeah,
do.
tell him, yeah, we'll fix it for you, but it's coming to our mechanics and not yours, sorry, then,
He's gonna say, okay, come and get it then.
fine.
Where is it?
I don't think we've ever worked on a vehicle that is now owned by,
It's not, yeah, it's not even our vehicle, the liability of that's probably pretty,
Right,
Fine, then I'll make the second suggestion, we don't do a damn thing about it, period.
As is.
As is,
All
it's
right.
it's on the bill of sales, as is, as seen. You got it, sorry. When we parked it, it was working fine. 6 weeks of sitting, sorry. I'll make that a motion.
I don't know how many people are reading the reviews on municipal bid as sellers. It could be a,
Would you be willing to talk to him and bring it back to us?
sure can, yeah. He just brought it up Friday, so.
I mean, that's a lot of options with no confirmation from us for a vehicle that we don't own that's already been removed from our property. I'm not really comfortable making any decision without having any kind of verification that there even is a code.
So there is a
That we've
code.
there was a
seen.
code that was on when it left.
Right, so our mechanics saw
I
it.
know, but our mechanic said it wasn't a big deal, so how do we know that it's a catalytic
in
converter
some of the-
code?
in some of the
I don't
vehicles-
know, I'm not a
Right.
mechanic.
Peter knows, I mean, you can start it, it'll have a code, you drive it 30, 40, 50 miles down the road, code's gone.
Could be a loose gas cap,
Yeah,
somebody may
yeah,
have
it
taken
could
the
be
gas
any
cap
number of
off of
things.
it. That'll set a code.
Exactly why I'm not comfortable making a decision.
So,
I don't know what it is, neither do we,
Yeah,
no
for
one
the-
knows.
So that's kind of where I'm at with I think it's for me anyway, it'd be a binary recommendation. Either do nothing and it was an as-is, and sorry, it didn't have a code when we parked it, that's why we said it didn't.
I'll second Mark's motion.
You took it.
Okay. Any more discussion on this? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, motion passes.
And that was the,
Not to do anything.
okay. All right, thank you.
Derek, it's on you now.
Okay.
Oh, I'll reach out to the guy. Oh, meaning that, I thought you meant that issue.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez, sorry, Derek. I'll make that.
Derek's turn.
Switch out the catalytic converter, will you?
Thanks.
So you're at tab 8. You have your committee meeting scheduled for the next 2 weeks. On Wednesday from 6:30 at the library, of the library trustees.
I will not be there, I will be at Denise's retirement.
Both of us will be gone that night.
And
So
both Collis and Mark are out of town.
Can we cancel that meeting because a lot of people from the library trustee will be there?
so the library is not a voting position. It's not an ex officio position. So that
Neither one of these are.
Neither are. So it's just I can
Just inform them.
I can just have Diane and Rick provide an update.
Unless you really feel, Jim, like you'd like to attend either. But,
No comment.
okay.
Come on.
Thursday at 6 p.m. CIP in this room.
Yep,
Next week, Sewer Commission will be meeting at 6 p.m. in this room on Tuesday.
yep.
At 6 p.m., Budget Committee will hold facility tours.
Yep.
Wednesday, 6:30, HCC at Grassmere.
Yep.
7 p.m. Conservation here.
No, I'm on vacation next week, so I cannot do either the Conservation Commission or the Planning Board next week.
This is the 20th to the
I
24th.
got it, yep. That's next week.
Last week of the month, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Go on.
I'm going to be on orders, I can't cover it.
Yeah, the calendar. What's the date?
I can start at one, go to the other.
The 22nd,
I can-
22nd, and the 23rd.
I'll do the 23rd.
The Planning Board.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll take the next week up to go up to May.
And then if anybody can take the Conservation Commission meeting.
Should be a short one, by the looks of it.
I'll do that one.
Okay.
That's Wednesday, right, the 7th? 7 o'clock.
Yes, yes, Wednesday, the 21st, I'm sorry, the 22nd. I will have Patty send you all the information for that. Mark, I'll have Patty send you the
Okay.
packet.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Jim.
I'll let you
Appreciate it,
know,
Jim.
Derek, I might be missing the Budget Committee tours, but no one really needs to cover
Okay.
that. It's the last one anyways.
On your next page, you have your consent agenda, employee status reports. You have a DPW seasonal hire, a seasonal laborer, this is a new hire, a full-time firefighter resignation. You have one Parks and Rec seasonal head counselor rehire. You have 4 Parks and Rec seasonal summer counselor rehire, 4 Parks and Rec seasonal summer counselor new hires, 2 Parks and Rec seasonal head lifeguard rehire, 4 Parks and Rec seasonal lifeguard rehire, 4 Parks and Rec seasonal lifeguard new hires, and then 2 Parks and Rec seasonal lifeguard substitutes, new hire, and you have an IT help desk technician new hire. You have a deposit and disbursement voucher for the Fire Apparatus Capital Reserve Fund in the amount of $705,313. You have the betterment assessment for Lynchfield Danis Park Drinking Water Project, a one-time payoff in the amount of,
$2,628.69.
no, that number is incorrect.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
$2,483.36.
Yes.
say it
What was
again,
it?
please.
$2,483.36.
2,482. Okay.
You have a letter of support to the L-CHIP review panel. This is for the Clark Ridge Farm that the Conservation Commission is working with Piscataqua Land Conservancy. And then you have a proclamation that needs a signature of the entire board this evening.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended.
Second. Motion by Kelly, seconded by
Amended
Jim.
is-
All-
What was the amendment?
Just the amount on
Yeah,
the
okay,
one-time
yeah.
payoff.
Okay, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining? Mark's not here, so he stepped out. Town assessor?
Yes, so you have a, from the town assessor, you have a report of timber cut and timber tax warrant for map 12 lot 10 and map 4 lot 87-6.
Make a motion to approve the assessor's recommendations as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining? Motion passes.
At tab 8D, you have dog licensing civil forfeiture recommendation by the town clerk. The town clerk must notify Goffstown keepers of dogs by first-class mail to obtain license. These are for those dog owners that have not received license yet. So the request is to authorize the town clerk and the chief of police to issue civil forfeiture letters, including a $5 administrative fee per household. This year, as of Thursday, June 9th at 10 a.m., there were 416 unregistered dogs from 318 households. And you have the RSA in your packet as well as the sample letter that would go out.
Same with you every year.
Yep.
Mark, to make a motion?
Yep, authorize the town clerk and the chief of police to issue civil forfeit letters, including a $5 administrative fee per household, to be delivered first-class mail by the U.S. Postal Service to keepers of all unregistered dogs.
Second.
Motion by Mark, seconded by Kelly, to have the chief of police chase down the unlicensed dogs. Unbelievable. How much does that cost us?
Lots of money.
I don't know, apparently a lot of people are getting dogs during the pandemic though, if you look at the 2020 numbers.
It costs us
It's
a
the
lot of money
lowest
to chase
household
these
we've
down,
had
isn't it?
though.
Yeah, it
It's the lowest
does. So
household
this
amount
is the
we've had
first
in 4
step, and then
years.
the
Yeah,
next
no.
step would be
Crazy.
actually providing service, having officers go out.
Well, how much does it cost to send out a registered letter now?
I think it's like $8.
All right, there's a motion on the floor, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, seeing none, motion passes.
At tab 8E, you have a volunteer recommendation from the Goffstown Economic Development Council to appoint Melanie Renfrew Hebert as a regular member with a term expiring March 31st, 2025.
Didn't we already do this one?
At your last meeting, she was appointed as
Alternate.
an alternate. They had a resignation, and at their meeting last week, or the
Gotcha.
week before, they recommended for full member, regular member.
So the motion as it's prepared here says to an alternate member, so is that a
That is a typo, yep.
typo?
Okay.
So it would be a regular member.
I'll make the motion to appoint Melanie Remfrey Hebert as a regular member of the Economic Development Council with term expiring March 31st, 2025.
I'll
Second.
Go ahead, Jim.
Motion by Mark, seconded by Jim. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, motion passes.
At tab 8F, you have a proposed wage matrix adjustment for regular non-union employees. When we went through the budget process last year, we proposed a 3.0% wage matrix adjustment effective July 1st. So we are seeking the board's authorization to make that adjustment, and at your next meeting, we would bring forward any wage changes for non-union as well as union employees in accordance with their collective bargaining agreements.
And the COLA's 5.9?
No, the Social Security, what I did in your packet is, again, we're looking to adjust the matrix by 3%.
Right.
The column next to that is a history of the Social Security cost of
Okay.
living increase.
I'll make a motion to accept the proposed 3.0 wage matrix adjustment for regular non-union personnel, effective 7/1/22.
Second.
Motion by Kelly, seconded by Mark. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, motion passes.
At your next page, you have, at 8G, you have a request from the fire department to adjust their wage matrix for non-union part-time and call firefighters, EMTs, and paramedics. The call and part-time firefighter wage matrix was last adjusted in 2017. The call and part-time EMT and paramedic wage matrix was last updated in 2019. So the request would be to do a 3% wage matrix adjustment for those non-union part-time and call firefighter, EMTs, and paramedics.
Are we still doing a stipend?
So this is not for any full-time employees. Any full-time firefighters that have an EMT or their paramedic license, they receive a negotiated incentive under the collective bargaining agreement. This is only for part-time and call members of the department.
Okay.
Is that why that's not included in this? In the last proposal, the
It
wage
is
matrix?
not. The part-time and call firefighters, EMTs, and paramedics has always lived as a separate wage matrix, and as you can see, it's been updated sporadically. So when we did the other one, we thought it was appropriate to bring this one forward to you as well.
So, as I've tried before and asked before, why can't we put all these matrix here with the other matrix? What's stopping us from doing that?
Now that they are all 16-step matrix, we could definitely build those in and put it
And
with
they
it.
get adjusted together?
Yep,
Yeah.
they wouldn't follow the labor grade, but we can definitely put it into one document.
Do we have any other part-time or call employees?
So the only other ones that we did add to the regular non-union employees is we did put a labor grade 0 on there for our part-time crossing guards, to adjust that as well. The only other ones that we have for part-time employees that are not currently on the wage matrix are part-time police officers. We only have a couple of those, and the police department, I believe, uses the scale that they retired at. So that's I guess the only other.
What about like the lifeguards at Parks and Rec?
Lifeguards, seasonal interns at DPW, seasonal laborers are not on a wage matrix. They are rates that are determined during the budget process.
How many part-timers do we have at the police department?
One.
And he's a crossing guard as well, right?
No, it's not, was it Pierre?
No.
I saw Pierre on the road last couple weeks ago. Directing traffic.
Yeah, with this beard.
Resigned during
Huh?
COVID. Chris McCrary resigned during COVID.
Oh, he did, okay.
Yeah.
I thought he was still there, I didn't know he resigned.
No, he did, yeah, he resigned.
So now, and Glenn's not around,
Pierre's our only one.
just Pierre.
And he's where he is.
Thank you. Okay, need a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the proposed 3% wage matrix adjustment for non-union part-time and call firefighters, EMTs, and paramedics. I'm assuming effective 7/1/2022 as well?
Yes, what we will do is we'll work with the departments to actually bring proposed pay changes by position to you at your next meeting.
Yeah, it'd be great if we could just have a list and adjust them all at the same time if that's possible, but they would also have to be budgeted separately by department, so.
And now what about mixing fire in the pay scale? Is there, what's gonna be needed?
Started already. Nothing.
So we can definitely combine these two matrices and provide that to you at your next meeting as well. It really would just be put them on one page, we can do that.
We can do that during the budget process.
Right,
You know, it's-
okay, great, that's done,
Fine.
right?
Do we vote on
Did we
that?
vote?
Was there a second on that
No
motion?
second.
There was no second on the motion.
Jim seconded. I knew he was
I
gonna
did,
second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion passes. We'll move on to old business action matrix.
Yes.
Is there any new business before anybody? I think the new business that I brought up, I want to bring up is we need to put policy together on e-bikes on the rail trail.
I will have,
Get together.
I will give you a review of your rail trail ordinance for the next meeting and how e-bikes fit into that, and we can go from there, if
Yeah,
that's all right.
we need to go ahead on that, because that's starting to be a problem.
Understood.
There's so many of them out there, they're so cheap.
I would also like to add the policy committee onto this. So we
Onto
have-
the action matrix?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For updates. The department head. Designate. Approved.
There's nothing on the first two things at this time, right?
Not at this time, no.
On the old ones? Vehicle out of service. Okay. See nothing, anybody got anything else? Motion?
Wait a minute, on the pedestrian bridge Derek, I still don't see anything on the website for the revised charter.
I will get that, I've gotta have IT build out that ad hoc committee, but yes, I'll get
Okay,
that up
because
there
we
this
need to
week.
call a meeting real soon. We'll have
Understood.
that available.
Do we wanna, Mr. Chair, do we wanna go back to, we used to do updates from each of us on the meetings that we had gone to in the past week, just kinda like anything of interest or?
You haven't done that for a while.
Only if it's
No.
important, I mean,
Yeah.
critical.
I'm just saying, not tonight, because
I'm
none
saying we
of
can
us
do
have
that
prepared.
anytime, you can bring anything up you want
Yeah.
on the new business.
Yeah.
If somebody's got something that they're covering and you wanna bring it up on the new business, that would be the time to do it, I guess. 'Cause that was kind of the,
Just to keep us all in the loop. of what's
yeah,
going on.
that's kind of how we got into the e-bikes because that was brought up at Parks and Rec.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's starting, when I first saw it, it was still snow on the ground when we talked about it. Now it's, you're starting to see those things everywhere.
Yeah. Just throwing that out there.
Okay, motion, Mark?
Non-public session, RSA 91A:3, 2, Roman 2A compensation, anything else?
No, that's it.
That's it?
Second.
Motion by Mark, second by Kelly. Roll call.
Yes, sir?
Yes.
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 That'll conclude our public portion of tonight's meeting. We'll be going into non-public.